Okay, this is going to be a really quick video. Sorry, I'm burping. This is exactly how this thing has come to me. Supposedly doesn't have spark on this cylinder, but the valve cover's off, so I don't know. We're just gonna have to look and see. I do know the PTO works, the ignition switch works, it cranks, it just doesn't start, or at least I didn't try to get it started. My gosh, I'm burping. Absolute thrash to get this thing up the driveway. It does have 1 dB tire, but I think it's got a tube in it, so might still be able to air that up. Look at the cute little deck pulleys I got on this thing, this deck belt. And this is something to laugh at. A hitch on a 0 turn. Oh, and it's also got like no oil in it. That's fun. And then to top that off, there's, this has been all exposed. And that's all rusty. Let me get this pushed in the shop after I put some tire in that air. And then we'll see if I can get it going. Looks like Garfield's come to help push this in the shop. What you doing? Want to help me push this in here? I know what he wants, actually. You want this. Oh. Yeah, I know you like to sit in that. Anyway, this tire took air surprisingly easy, so that's nice. All 4 tires have air, which means I finally don't have to do anything with tires. Me not having to do anything with tires is the equivalent of Junkyard Diggs not having to do anything with brakes. Alright, so starting to work on this thing a little bit. Both spark plugs are already disconnected, or I think just this one was. That one was connected. And this was the plug from this cylinder. It has, wait, hang on. Did I get them mixed up? Okay, there we go. This cylinder has fired. This one right here, the one that I thought was dead. But that one has not. And obviously it's got the performance spark plugs in here. It's a performance machine. Regardless, I think what he said was it had jump timing, like valve timing. And seeing how there's a valve cover off, I believe I remember correct. So I'm going to take the borescope, look in the cylinder, both of the cylinders, and see if the valves are opening when they should. Alright, so I've been looking at a couple things, and well, I was told that this thing jumped timing, like the camshaft. And maybe that ignition coil was bad, but no, it's much, much, much worse. So, as you can see, there's electrical tape on the oil drain. And there's also no oil in it, which I think I showed y'all already. But here's the concerning part. So let me start the borescope camera here. So this is the cylinder, viewing it from the carb of the engine. This would be the left side. And if y'all can see it, it's got enough compression it blew the thing out of here. Now, let's go to the other side. Hold on while I get there. Alright, so this is this cylinder. Watch what happens here. As you can see, nothing happens. This thing has got a broken rod or piston. So, yeah, that explains... Well, that doesn't explain why there's no oil in it. I think why this happened is... So this started leaking oil, probably. There's grease all over this frame, everywhere. And so someone thought, it's a good idea to put electrical tape on this, because that'll stop the leak. I'm assuming it didn't, because this is where it was sitting right here. But I'm pretty sure it didn't stop the leak, and they didn't check the oil every time you start it like you should. Consequently, it ran out of oil, and that rod is dead. And listen to this. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but there's a little knocky in there. So I opened this up, and we're probably going to find either a broken piston or rod. But regardless, this engine's got to come out of here and get torn apart. So let's work on that. I'm working on getting the exhaust off, but can we just appreciate how much oil is all over every bit of this? I think this has probably had a pan gasket leak for the last 3 centuries also. Reminds me of that wagon that Junkyard Digs had, the California wagon. Although this is on the outside of the motor. Anyway, this is not fun, I gotta say, this exhaust. Okay, it's the next day. I got as far as taking the exhaust off, disconnecting all the electrical, throttle and choke cables, and started to pull motor mounts yesterday. But it is so greasy up under this thing. I gotta pressure wash it before I can do anything. Let me give y'all an idea. It is a royal mess. There's a pile of garbage right there. So I'm going to pressure wash this thing and then get back to it. Of course, I don't know how to take the bell off for the PTO and the drive. I've never worked on a zero turn before, even though I'm figuring it out quickly as I'm doing it. There's 2 neutral levers instead of 1. And another thing, zero turns are a pain to move around when dead. Because, well, the steering, where the wheels up here just go wherever the heck they want to. And there's no, like, actual brake pedal. That pedal's for the deck lift. I kind of like how that is, honestly. But the only way that the driver can slow down is with the parking brake. But that makes the most awful grinding noise in existence. So that may not work anymore. Well, it is dark. I've got the sun right here. A little late to run the pressure washer, so I'm just going to give everything a preliminary clean. I don't really think I need to cover the intake. There's already plenty of water that's got down in here. And if I can salvage this thing, it's going to need a full rebuild anyway. So, yeah. Let's get started. Not bad for just a, honestly, kind of quick rinse with the hose. Got a bunch of the crap in here out, the pile of garbage. I still want to go in here with the pressure washer and get a bunch of more, but that's most of it. I gotta say, someone did not take care of this. Looks like I need to clean this off more. And of course, if I can get a good motor in here and the transmission still work and everything, then I'll do all the general maintenance, grease everything, make sure the tires hold air reliably, sharpen the blades, clean the deck, everything. But I don't know if I'll be able to fix this motor. We'll see. Just, you know, piece of metal gets loose flying at 3,000 RPM. Whatever it hits is going to be damaged. All right, well, I got this thing dragged back in here. I didn't pressure wash it. I got lazy. But the big thing was make it so I can at least see the motor mounts, which I can now. Well, where are they? They're somewhere. There's one right there. And I got the PTO off. That pulley right there, though, the way that's rusted on there, that concerns me. We'll see how that goes. Let me start working on pulling these motor mounts out. Well, this has spiraled out of control very quickly. I have been trying to get this off for a while now. I think it's pretty clear it ain't coming off. Well, I made it here. Considering everything around here, I guess taking this off wasn't too bad. Except for the fact that these 4 head bolts were torqued to like 150 foot-pounds. I broke 2 sockets trying to get those off. Alright, so check this out. Let me push the cylinder to the bottom, and then let me push the piston to the bottom of the cylinder. Wait, hang on, let me move the flywheel. Immediately, you should know that should not be possible. It pushes it up about that far. But now look what I can do. It doesn't pull it back down. Ain't that something? I gotta wonder if I can fling it fast enough to throw that piston out. I doubt it, but I'm going to try and see if I can get that piston out of there just by rotating this thing with speed. Well, I'm getting the borescope through the oil drain hole, and things aren't looking good for this engine. I think that's the end of a rod right there. The big end. There's a bolt. There's a huge mess. But thankfully, bending that pulley the way I did has allowed me to open this gap up just enough to get most of that broken rod out of there. The piece is weird getting out. I'll clean these up and show them to you better in a bit, but there's one more loose piece in there, one more big piece that's loose I want to try and get. And then, yeah, I'll see what I can do to try and get that piston out, because it'll be hilarious whatever's on the back side of it. And then I might take this cylinder head off and then just remove what little good parts are on this thing, like starter. But here's more proof that I'm not the first one to be in here. You see this here? There's no gasket on that. Let me get some light for you. There. No gasket. None. And that right there is just RTV. What is that? Oh, that's governor gear. Yeah, just RTV. This down there. Focus. It won't focus. But you can see there's just oil everywhere. So someone has been in here before me for some reason. And it's pretty obvious that they did not help. They probably only made things worse. And who the heck would go through the effort to put this, or I don't know. Weird how, seeing that this has 100% been off before, because there's no gasket on here at all. I can't get the camera in here to show y'all. Maybe I can. There you go. No gasket there at all. This pulley's been off before, yet it is stuck solid right now. It will not come off at all. I've tried. It won't. I broke my ratchet. I've broken 2 sockets on this thing so far, and it is completely shot. Regardless, I kind of want to get the sump off, but it's not going to happen unless I cut the crankshaft off, which, seeing how this crank is not going to be any good, I could do that. It'd just take, you know, forever, because I have to cut through that pulley too. But either way, let me finish getting good parts off of here, and then I'll get back to you. Alright, well, I've torn it down a pretty good ways. I want to get the cylinder head off, but it ain't gonna happen. The bolts are so tight. One of them's not, of course, but, you know, I don't know. You can see just all the grease in here. It's a mess. Someone who had no idea what they're doing in here and just made things worse. There's hair on that one. Look at all this RTV nightmare. Someone didn't put a gasket on. They literally just put RTV. Well, I got the inspection camera in there at just the right angle, and, well, there's the bottom of the piston and the broken part of the rod. The fact that it's still hitting the crank explains why the piston would move just a little bit. Regardless, yeah, it's pretty bad. I can see that rod from here, or that journal right there. That looks scored on this inspection camera, and if it's scored on this poor inspection camera, it's going to be heck in your real life. So this thing is done for. And I mean, being the Kohler courage that it is, it wasn't worth building. So, yeah. I still want to try and get that out of there somehow, but yeah. Now I need to start looking for another engine. Thank goodness I managed to get it out of here. It's pretty messed up. Just managed to hammer this through the gap in the oil pan to push it out. I'll clean everything up and see if I can piece it back together, but I don't think I even have the full thing. I think there's still probably a couple more big chunks in there. You can see where it kind of started to hit where the crank started to hit it, and probably, well, smooth that out. We know that it smoothed it out. That goes on there somehow, probably. But yeah, into the pile of destroyed stuff. I'm gonna see if there's any other pieces of it in here that I can get out, but I can get my hand in that cylinder now. It's big enough, so Piece of cake now. Regardless, I will probably see you when I have another engine put in this thing. So I just picked up this routing mower along with another one, but that's its own video. This one is arguably in worse shape. It's missing a starter, no spark plugs are in it. This valve cover's hanging off and it is filthy and there's a bunch of leaves down the intake. Supposedly he was taking parts off of this to keep that one running. It does have a metal transmission in it, so it's not the general transmission's stupid cheap one. Whether it's Tecumseh or Tough Torque, I don't know, but it's at least a transmission that will work. It does have a Wix filter on it, I noticed. The logo's up underneath it. That hood thing down there looks like it's seen a little heat. This connector for the headlights looks like it's seen a little heat. Where was it burned? Somewhere on it looked melted. Or maybe it was the other one, but anyway, lots and lots of grease up in here. And of course the leaves down the intake is a little bit of a concern. I don't know if the battery's any good. I don't know. I know there's a little bit of, there's some wires disconnected here. I'm guessing this is the voltage regulator and that's just been removed. It does have a good old suicide knob, so that's nice to see. Electric PTO, 48-inch deck. It needs some serious help with these deck wheels. I took that one off so we could fit this through the tiny, tiny gate he had. We were just barely able to fit it through. I think I can fix it, but this also may end up getting parted out to save a zero turn if that motor's good. We'll see. I just noticed it's got a tube in that tire. How about these other ones? What do they got? Tube, looks like. Tubeless. And tubeless. But I'm going to power wash this thing before I work on it because it is obviously a mess. I need to plug that intake off and put spark plugs in the cylinders so nothing gets in there or nothing else. What's the sticker say? Oh, customer responsibility. Just go ahead and get a shot of this in case it gets blasted off by the pressure washer. I wonder if these ignition coolers are still good. Man, this thing stinks too. Not like mouse. Not like a mouse nest. It just stinks like, I don't know, it stinks like a 318 did. Like a farm tractor, I guess. I don't know. There's wood screws right there. I didn't even try and start it because obviously there's no starter. I didn't test any of the electrical. So yeah, this one pretty big gamble. The other one not so much, but again, that's its own video. The deck is lifted all the way up. But the wheel is on the ground. Well, not even the wheel, it's the actual deck shell. Or is it? What? This doesn't even make sense. Why is this? It doesn't even make sense why it's that low. And this side is this high. Y'all got any guesses? Well, it's been a bit since I had the camera on this one. I came out here and absolutely flooded the entire intake and the cylinders with some like 30-year-old motor oil. Not used, just like 30 years old. Okay, probably not that old, maybe more like 10, but not good enough to run in an engine, but plenty good enough to just protect those cylinders from any rust. And I did notice a couple things. One, it's got this thing right here, which if you don't know what this is, basically you screw these onto the battery terminals and you can just plug your trickle charger into this and it charges it instead of having to hook, you know, the clamps on. So interesting that this is here, but it's not on. So that's, I guess that's that. What else did I find? Also, I remembered that this is probably one of the Husqvarnas that tends to crack the frame in half, so it's perfect for doing what I'm going to do with it. You know, pulling the motor out of it and putting it in the zero turn. I keep forgetting I'm not filming this as a track revival. I'm filming this to take the motor out of it and put in that zero turn. So I'm cutting the fuel line so it's not so bloody long, and look at what poured out of this filter. There's water in that, and it also smells somewhat like diesel, which doesn't make sense. So that's not good. Anyway, if it isn't obvious, I got this thing in the workshop now. Fuel line is shortened, so it's not, you know, contacting the wheel. I've got most of the fuel clamps back where they should be, sort of, I don't know. Did put a new filter on since, you know, water poured out of that old one. Not that that isn't really going to stop water, it just makes me feel better. And I got a starter bolted on here. One of the bolts is not right, and it's pretty, I don't know. And it's a smaller starter, but it should work. Also, can we just appreciate some of the stuff that's going on here? I don't even know what this is. It looks like RTV. It feels like RTV. It is so... Oh my gosh. I'm guessing he put the aftermarket carb on here, but realized that the wires didn't reach to fit the fuel solenoid, so he just made this stupidity to make it reach. Which, I don't know if these worked, or I don't know if this actually worked or not, but I'm just going to leave it like that for now. I need to get this bolted to this, and then I'll hook the battery up and try cranking it. So I decided, since that other valve cover was off when I first bought this, I should probably take this one off. And, well, it's an intek vtwin. If you know anything about anything, you know what this means. There's no pressure on this valve right now, but it's still open. This just got way more interesting and way, I don't even know what. That's got a drop valve seat, I can tell you right now. Well, anyway, back to working this with now it being soaked. Took it outside and washed it even more, since I'm going to have to remove the cylinder head. I don't know if I can save this thing. It's an intek vtwin. We'll see. But the tractor's getting parted out regardless of whether the engine's good or not. Obviously, we determined that a while ago. I'm going to pull the intake off first. But yeah, I'm 1000% chance it's a dropped valve seat. It's bloody intakes, man. Also, look at the black RTV on these intake gaskets. From when he probably put an aftermarket carb on here. That's not RTV, that's just the gasket, which is like falling apart or something. I don't know. Ugh. Anyway, I'm going to work on pulling this intake off to guarantee that it's a drop valve seat before I do pull a cylinder head. But I mean, what else is it going to be? Getting ready to pull the cylinder head off. I've got everything undone, but the head bolts, they're loose. They're just not, you know, out. But everything else is disconnected, so we'll see just how bad this intek really is, and then decide just how much C4 I want to use on it. Let's get these HUD bolts out. Whoa. Alright. Whoa, geez. Again, I already loosened these. Just didn't take them out. This thing is bent. Alright, that might be all of them. I don't know. It is. Okay, how bad is it? The valve seat's not dropped, but it's like stuck. Hold on. Let me get this cleaned off. Okay, everything is oily as crap, but the valve's open, but there's not a drop seat. Okay, here we go. And just like that, it's closed. What? How? Oh great, one of the retainers fell out. Okay, I am at a genuine, complete, total, and utter loss right now. Do I just reassemble it? I think I know what happened. So, the valve is very rusty, and it was... So, you know, the intake was just left open in the rain, and the spark plugs are out. When I got it, I closed all that off, and tried, and, you know, ran a ton of oil down these cylinders to try and keep any further rust from happening. You can see it's relatively rusty in here too. Even some of those leaves made it in here. What I'm thinking happened is that the intake valve was left open and that caused it to rust. So it was, the guy didn't scam me, but he just shouldn't have left the intake open and the spark plugs out. But yeah, I'm gonna look at that head gasket a little bit more. If that's reusable, I can just clean all this up while I'm here and then reassemble it. All right, well, I got the cylinder head and the piston cleaned up. It's not perfect, but it's better than it was. It's good enough. Some people will probably say against me using this head gasket. It's an intek. It's gonna blow it anyway. More than likely. I wonder if there's a snake outside. Keep hearing this hissing sound. Anyway. Yeah, I scratched a good bit right there. So we'll just see if that blows. Need to blow these head bolts out to make sure the head bolts go into the block cleanly. But yeah, I think it was just rust because there was a lot of rusty water pouring out of this head while I was taking it off, and there's a lot right there that I need to wipe off before I put the head back on. Okay, I have been turning some wrenches. Seems to be a theme with these two tractors. I've got this cylinder head all reassembled. It's back here. I've set the clearances on the valves. At least I think. I don't know. I just guessed what they were supposed to be. This needs replaced. I don't think I've ever come across one of these mowers that uses one of these that it doesn't need replaced. So yeah, I can just wrap it in electrical tape for now. What else? Still needs cleaned out better, but yeah, I probably am gonna have to take the car back off to do something to it. Probably either drill it. I don't know. It's probably not gonna run right. Just putting it that way. It's an aftermarket car. Too tired, too hungry. Alright, I'm back with this thing. It's been a week. Don't know where I left off as far as filming goes, but I just rinsed out the whole intake and carbon everything with water. Make sure there's no more leaves in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on getting that reassembled. If it pulls a little water through, it'll be fine. Clearly, it already had a cylinder full of water in the first place. I'm just gonna do a quick once over of all the electrical since seeing how it was all messed up on the other mower. But I mean, aside from that, it's probably fine. Already got a battery in it. Let's see if anything happens. Lights, camera, action. Got nothing. Whole lot of nothing. Okay, well, I'm tired of messing around. I don't know where I left off. It's been crazy. I mean, crazy last couple weeks. This has been sitting out here for a few weeks, untouched. Amazingly, all the tires, I think, still have air in them, so that's good. At least I got a good set of tires for the front of Max Trax now. But I'm just gonna go ahead and rip this motor out, put it in that zero turn, probably tomorrow. I'm gonna get everything loose first, the motor mounts, etc. All right, this thing's in my granddad's bigger workshop. You might recognize this building from a recent vid. I just realized there's not really any, I kind of knew this, but there's not really even any places to put lifting points for the crane. I could probably pick this up, but I just prefer to lift it with the crane because I'm lazy. Well, thanks to the crane, I can get under here a little bit easier, and look at the mess. I've already somewhat cleaned this. My word. Look at this weird PTO clutch. The pulley's massive. By the way, I realized when I was pulling this out that motor mount was missing. It wasn't there, and the others were not tight, like at all. So this motor's been out before. I think that's been the case. That and this exhaust manifold is loose. Next thing I know is the rod bolts are not even torqued. Anyhow, I need to get Kohler Courage out, or out again, and this in. In case you don't remember and you didn't understand all that blabbering I did last night, That, I was trying to pull that off, but it got destroyed. This should be a good replacement. I mean, it's still a little different, but I don't care. Well, it's in here. I don't know if I'd say it's sitting pretty yet. I gotta take this exhaust manifold off before it fits into place, because it hits that right there. This one doesn't for some reason. I don't know what that's about, but yeah, this exhaust right here should work. That was another concern I had. The throttle cable will work, the choke cable will not. I'll have to get another one of those. The choke cable has to run all the way around this side to here. Hilariously, if the choke was the throttle, it would work literally perfect, but no, I ain't that lucky. Oh well. But yeah, I need to get this exhaust manifold off. That's gonna suck. I'll be back when that's done. Well, I'll explain in a second, but I was able to get the crank out of this thing, and you can see bad rod journal, good rod journal. There's a lot wrong with this one. And if you're wondering how I got this out, well, I made this one-piece assembly a 1,000-piece assembly. Camshaft looks fine, considering all that it's been through me trying to get this open. Here's the piston, the good one. Honestly, it looks fine. So despite this thing having genuinely, well, there's a little bit of scorn right there, but that's probably where it was contacting the other. There's also some markings right here where it was like grinding against the crankshaft. So it's really weird. It's almost like this thing was drained of oil after it blew up. That's really weird, but there's no holes in the block that lead to the outside. But after opening it up, that's where that rod broke off and hit the block and damaged it pretty bad. So yeah, this block couldn't have been saved if I wanted it to. You can see all the pieces from my now 1,000-piece assembly in here and all over the place. What an alternator looks like out of one of these, if you ever wondered. Head gasket on the side that was, you know, still attached to the crankshaft is really weird. Look at this. I've heard these Kohlers don't like their head gaskets too much. That is kind of blown, actually, honestly. Let me look at the head. Head looks okay. I don't know. Was this blown, maybe? Did this thing have a blown head gasket and rod? That'd be hilarious. Anyhow, yeah, this thing could have been saved if I wanted to. Yeah, I didn't see that before. That changes a couple things. That tells you how violent a thrown rod can be. I'm going to get all the rest of this now so it's completely 100% bare block so I can try and do an interesting idea I've had for a while, but yeah. Anyway, that's all the internals to the old engine. Well, I got this thing back in here. I ain't touched it again since I power washed it. It's cleaner. Of course, now there's leaves all over it and stuff, but at least it's a cleanish turd. I put that valve cover on upside down. I don't remember where I really left off exactly, other than the fact that the choke cable didn't reach, and the muffler still might not work. We'll see. And I'm going to use the one that came off this engine. I need to do some, I don't even remember. I don't remember anything at all. I mean, at all. If this doesn't tell you how things have spiraled out of control, I don't know what will. So, basically, I cut these and then bent them down. So I should be able to take the exhaust that was on this engine when it was in the Husqvarna, and they'll fit in here, hopefully, because that exhaust ain't gonna work. So, yeah, I'm gonna put the engine back in. Hopefully that clears, and if it does, then I can actually get to wiring this thing. I realized that right there actually plugs into that right there. So there's some odd chance that this could actually work without modifying the wiring at all. There's no way I'm that lucky. But if that does actually by some miracle work, that would be so nice. This scene may look familiar from either a previous or a future video. I'm not sure which. But I'm back with this again. It's been a few more days. I've got a actual bolt for the starter because one of the ones in there is not the right one. And I've got a new wire for the fuel solenoid. So I'll get that wire in place and get rid of that garbage, which I thought would work at least temporarily, but not even that. Gotta get this recoil, or not recoil, but blower housing off again. Yeah. Give it. Give it. Give it. Give it. All that work to get this on, and it doesn't want to come off. I'll fight with this, and then I'll be back. Seems like every time I drag this in here, I get one singular wire figured out, if even that, and then I have to drag it out. But I've got a much better setup for the fuel solenoid where I go in here. It's way, way better, even if it doesn't look like it. It's up and around where it should, and it's connected. So that's going to work way better. And as you can see, the connector plugs in like it is made to fit. So I don't know, maybe the wires are all set up, and I just got to hook the battery up at this point. Aside from hooking the ground and everything up, which I need to do. That just goes on the starter. And then this goes on the battery terminal. The ground cable is somewhere in here. I don't know where. There's a chance I have this thing driving by the end of the day. And I think I've decided I'm not going to try and use the clutch that was on this mower. I'm just going to use the clutch and pulley that was on the Husqvarna tractor. I don't know how well this is going to line up with the drive belt on this thing, but we'll just have to see. It might be good enough to work. Keyword might. I think it'll work. But I'm not going to hook that up until I see this thing work. There's no point in spending any more money. Or I've not spent really any actual money on this except for like certain consumables like that right there. And that. Small stuff like that. But I'm not going to pay for a new pulley. Or as a customer wants to until this thing runs. So let me get back when I have hopefully all the wire connected and we're ready to see how much smoke there is. Alright, the electrical's hooked up. The only thing left is the ground. Just going to do the old tappity tap 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 and see if we get any sparkies. I've got the voltage regulator off. Oh, already touched, no sparks. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. It's kind of good. Hey. All right, I've replaced our Total Pro with a Duralast. We got great spark on this plug over here, I'll tell you that much. Compression on that one. We got terrific spark on this one. It's jumping like a freaking inch gap. There we go. See if the thing's any good.
Oh, that had some promise to it. We went from dead engine to this thing look like it's going to start.
Simmer down. These darn brake starters are so weak. switch indeed does work. Alright, well I got fuel hooked up to it now, so let's see if it'll do anything. I'll give it some help. Don't want to have to wait for the battery to charge. Now it's starting to sound like a briggs stratton. It's absolutely trying. Wow. Okay, that's good. I'm convinced it runs. Ouch. Prove me wrong. You just got smoke coming out of the blower housing here. With how much it's vibrating, it'll clean all the crap off of the frame too. Surging a tiny bit, but that'll come out of it. Just get a little exercise through it, get some fresh gas through it. And that noise you're hearing is the thunk, thunk, thunk is just air coming through the intake. Without an air filter, that's normal. dare say I smell those to the fire now. Well, it's been weeks. I got the dry belt put back on and the battery's about dead and everything. I just want to see if the thing will drive for me real quick. So I'm going to do that. Alright, so it's been like 3 months. I have no idea where I left off, really. I think the only thing I remember is the last time I tried to drive it. I don't think the camera picked any of it up, but it started smoking really bad at the alternator. And it died. And, well, I tried it again, I think off camera. I think. It died and would not start back up. Since then, well, today I just took the cover back off. I don't know why this just fell down. I don't know if I left this unbolted or something. It's weird, but regardless. I went to a junkyard or something and found this with a voltage regulator on it. Is it good? I don't know. But it, in theory, is better than the one that's on there. And it also doesn't have that crack right there. So we can get this gas tank off and switch these around. And I'll try this again. Alright, I got that done. The plugins aren't the same, but then again, these plugins also look like trash. To a point, I don't know. The old one, where is it? I'm not sure what's going on. I might have to replace the alternator, and if I do, I'll just get one that already has plugins to match that one, but we'll see. I'm also moving the gas tank over to here, because I may or may not have robbed the fuel pump bracket that was on this for a different mower. But since on this you can have the gas tank on either side and it doesn't affect the operation, you know, it doesn't matter. Just moving it over to here. So I'm just going to put a battery in and see what works. I'm not plugging the alternator, or I'm not plugging any of this in. I'm going to unplug the alternator from that side. Just, you know, not have it in play right now. I'll work on that later. I just want to see if I can at least cut a little bit of grass with this before, you know, this has any more time and effort put into it. Assuming it'll do anything now. It may have fried whatever wiring harness was here. I really should have had the camera filming, but it was a huge cloud of smoke coming from this alternator, and I'm pretty sure it just died on its own and I couldn't get it to start again. Repeating myself again, it seems. Another thing I forgot to mention is the fact that the only reason I'm even working on this again is because I finally have a buyer for it. The original owner said he didn't want it anymore. No click from the fuel solenoid. Well, it only took half an hour of tracing back wires to find out that the old solenoid was actually the problem. Put a different one on and it works just fine. Ugh. Here's the throttle. someone please, for gosh sakes, tell me a good brand of tripod? I've been letting it sit here and run for about 3 minutes, and it keeps running. It just keeps backfiring too. Is it the alternator smoking? I don't know what. But regardless, I touched the throttle, it backfired once, and then died. It smells a little bit like grease burning. Maybe not necessarily burning wires. I'm not sure. But at this point, I don't even care. It needs a flywheel, an alternator, and a whatever. Coming from down there too. But yeah, again, at this point, I don't even care. I'm just gonna let it burn. It doesn't matter. If it's the alternator, screw it. I've been here for literally like 10 minutes. Just let this thing run. And it's not much better. Let's try the throttle. See how fast it dies. It's still smoking, so I highly doubt it's anything other than the alternator, because, well, yeah. Let me get this off and figure out what's smoking real quick. Oh, great. You can't see now. Where does the smoke come from? Oh, it looks like it's under the alternator. I don't know. I don't have a socket big enough for that flywheel. I need to get one so I can get it off. But I don't know what that proved. I mean, kind of knew it would still run, just not well. It's the next day. I come out here hoping to get all the old gas out of it, and there's a little bit of oil on the ground. Where is it from? I don't know. It's wet everywhere, to be honest. Maybe it actually is just oil burning off of this right here, which is what's causing this to smoke so bad. I mean, it's hard to believe, because you'd think that with the amount that I've run it, it would go away by now, but I don't know. Where's the oil leak coming from, though? All right, I got it all done. I got a different PTO clutch on here with the correct pigtail. I got it wired in and it works. I've tested it. I got a little bit cut off the top of the clutch here and then a random spacer or two just to help it, you know, with the not at all perfect cut that I have. I got this all rigged up again. So this is pretty much done. I don't like this, but there's not a whole lot I can do about it. I can't put a bigger bolt in there. But the biggest thing is the pulley or the belt's not like scraping the top of the transmission anymore. That's what I was aiming to do, and I achieved that. So, yeah. And with the clutch now wired up, I should be able to try to mow with it next time I get it running. But I want to fire it up and just, you know, turn the clutch on before I engage the PTO. My goal today is to get the zero turn to cut this. See if I can make it happen. I got fresh gas in it. The gas tank's bolted back in. Yeah, it's time to see if it'll start again. But hopefully run half decent with fresh gas. Been a little bit. I got the mower deck belt back on. I got the choke cable hooked up. I'm working on getting this thread cleaned out for this hole, so that way I can get, you know, a bolt in there and bolt the shroud down. I need to buy a bunch of these bolts because every single one of these I get, like half of them are missing. So I need to buy like a pack of 25 or 500. Thinking about it, for me to be sitting on the seat, but I don't know. I feel like all the electrical in the mower itself is just fine. It's just the alternator on the motor which was bad, and it might not even been bad because the smoke is still coming up from down there. So I think that's all that was wrong with it. Battery's been charging for long enough, I assume. Let's see if it will cut some grass for us. Well, as you can see, I got the carb off of it. I'm going to see if there's anything obviously wrong with this one. If there is, or if there isn't, I'm just going to put the parts in this and use this, because this has never been used, and it's another cheap aftermarket copy. But if I see something obviously wrong, like a giant piece of rust plugging up a jet, then I'll probably just get that out of there, blow the passage out, and put this back on. But yeah, let me open this up. Well, this is a vtwin intek carb that's been rebuilt pretty much as fast and cheaply as you could. So let's see if it works. All right, it's back together, all of it. So let's see if it'll not work. The tripod's so broke, this is literally as high as it goes. It'll have to do though. I'd call that a success. Doesn't even look like it's smoking, so I guess maybe it was just oil. Then now that it's been at operating temperature for a long period of time, that's all burnt off. Ugh. I'd say this thing finally does deserve an oil change, though. Oh gosh. It's everywhere. Actually, looks like it's actually just that right there which is leaking. Just crafted this hole here to drain the oil. Let's see if I can do that. It actually worked. But oh my gosh, is that bad. Gosh. Despite how much I didn't want to, I should have probably changed this earlier. Good grief. I bought this giant socket just for this, and let's see if this impact I like pulled out of the ground can get this nut off. Wow. Wow. Mother Nature really letting loose today. Welcome to underneath the flywheel, where it's really greasy and messy, and up under the flywheel is packed full of grass and stuff too. Honestly, I don't know if that would stop it from charging. I've seen alternators that are really bad and still charge. Looks like that top crank seal is leaking, but not like I can do anything about that. So, yeah. I'm gonna blow this out and clean it out as best I can with the air hose, obviously. No way I'm taking this outside because it is pouring, I mean pouring rain. I just noticed something in the intake here. That's all... What is that? That's very watered down oil. It looks like it might be coming out of the breather to an extent, which would make sense considering how thin that oil was, but golly. Well, of course I forgot to film like anything after whatever the last clip was, but I got it all reassembled. I didn't find anything. I cleaned the alternator up. There were a couple spots on it that looked weird, but my knowledge with those only goes so far, so yeah, I'll just try hooking it up with this new regulator if I can and see if that does it. If it doesn't, I've got one I can steal off another motor for the time being. Also, I put a different oil drain thing in there with some Teflon tape on it so it shouldn't leak everywhere like the last one. Well, I kind of forgot that this mower existed, so I went to look at it to see how it was wired, and apparently these are just two different alternators. There's a chance that other one still works though, so I'm just going to swap the flywheel and alternator on this out, because this is mine, it's staying here. That one, well, that's not, so yeah. Assuming this alternator is good, of course. It didn't work before either. Alright, I got the new alternator in, the wire run across and all this plugged in and stuff. So in theory it should charge now. Will it? No idea. We'll find out. Alright, we're back. I got some parts. I got an air filter and some spark plugs. I'm replacing the plugs because what's in these right now are some weird cheap, like, they say Savior on them, but they don't say anything else. So you're telling me this thing's been running on one cylinder, huh? Just about ready to go here, but I thought I'd show you something. So, I put a short up recently about some really trashed mower blades that came off of this mower here. Anyway, I put new blades on and thought it would be the last time I have to work on it. I was wrong. The guy hit a stump and sheared that star off. The bolt's still stuck inside, and the new blade is in pretty rough shape. I filed the rough spots down, but there already is a huge amount of chunks taken out of that. But seriously, how? Yeah. What in the world? That was... Right, well, I can't be sure of nothing, but playing back that footage, it looks like it was potentially flooding due to the float, aside from the fact that it wasn't smoking, but I don't know. Oh my gosh. What in the smoke, the fire? What in the... Oh my gosh. Alright, well I've taken both valve covers off and verified that the clearances on the valves are just fine. It looks disgusting in there, but that's not the problem. Looking at the plugs, I don't particularly see anything off. I mean, it seems like it's been firing a little bit on both, so... I mean, one of them was a little wet, but, I mean... I don't know. Uncle James needs this. Alright, for the YouTube video. It's the next day. Like I said before, I got the old spark plug back in. And none of the valves are moving, so let's just try it, see what happens. No change today, huh? I think the keyway sheared. Look at that. Holy heck. Look at that. The sheared keyway. That's been the problem the whole time. The timing is really far off. Well, that'll do that. See if I can find a new key somewhere. New flywheel key that I totally did not seal off something else. So, it ran pretty good there. So much so that I put this back on, only to remember that I still have to take this off to try and put a different starter on. And, yeah, my uncle come over, who's going to buy it, or basically we're trading tractors, but regardless, he's the one getting it. By the way, I forgot, after the oil change, oil's looking a whole lot better. I flushed it really, really good. Still, I'm going to do a couple more, just to be safe, but yeah. It ain't perfect, but it's a lot better than the first time. I mean, a lot better. Alright, I finished the oil change, took it outside, gave it a quick bath. Also, I put some new fuel line on, a filter, good hose clamps. So that's ready to go. Of course, now that the frame is clean, we'll be able to see if it's leaking oil, but hopefully it's not. I mean, it left a giant puddle on the floor again, so find out. The water will dissolve, but the oil won't. Okay, my uncle's gonna be using this mower. Having fun yet?
That's good, really good. I'm happy.
Nice. Alright, well, I think that's probably the end of this video. Ready to take this home. It works pretty good. He's happy with it. He traded it for this. I don't think there'll be a video on this. Funny part is he actually bought this from me a long time ago. This just needed a little bit of work to get it running again, because it's been sitting all winter. And I've got a 48-inch mower deck I'm going to swap onto it. But there you go. Hope you enjoyed this stupid long video, and hopefully I never have to see this zero turn again.